And the equivalent of what J.K. Rowling said, calling a trans person a man, deliberately knowing that that person is a woman, and I am a woman, regardless of what J.K. Rowling says. I've been through everything that's required of me. My birth certificate says female, my passport, all of my documents. I am legally recognised as a woman. And for J.K. Rowling to deliberately, and that is the key word, misgender me, knowing who I am, is grossly offensive. It is a hate crime, and it should be treated just as somebody calling a black person the N-word, or an Asian person the P-word.
What?
Ooh!
Yeah. Wokeness is a disease, a malady, a social malady that needs to be eradicated. Wokeness is indubitably a social malady that needs to be eradicated. Wokeness is indubitably a social malady that needs to be eradicated. Wokeness is indubitably a social malady that needs to be eradicated.
Person the P-word, or
ooh, interesting. Interesting. It should be treated the same as calling a black person the N-word, which again, you do have, full right to call somebody that, at least in the United States. Now, how that's going to go for you as far as the retaliation, I don't know. I highly wouldn't recommend it. But listen to the amount of victimhood that is being stated here, and the hoops that this person is claiming to have jumped through are just like hoops of what? Legality, getting documented as female, getting a passport that says you are female. That by no means changes the truth. And the truth that J.K. Rowling is willing to stand up for and say out loud that this is a biological male. And the fact that this person thinks that they should be able to go to the police and accuse J.K. Rowling of a hate crime and harassment for doing this is a level of delulu that I can only aspire to feel one day. This is insane. Now, the police, I guess, took
Redick.
And the fact that this person thinks that they should be able to go to the police and accuse J.K. Rowling of a hate crime and harassment for doing this is a level of delulu that I can only aspire to feel one day. This is
Unjustifiable. Gratuitous.
That this person thinks that they should be able to go to the police and accuse J.K. Rowling of a hate crime and
falsely
accused is a level of delulu that I could only aspire to feel one day.
No doubt.
Insane.
No
now,
doubt.
The police, I guess, took this accusation seriously at first, and of course, J.K. Rowling decided to respond. It's not just going to lay down and take this. Here's J.K. Rowling's response to
Salute
India.
to J.K. The base,
advised me that not only did I have a clearly winnable case against India Willoughby for defamation, but that seriously at first. And of course, J.K. Rowling decided to respond. It's not just going to lay down and take this. Here's J.K. Rowling's response to India Willoughby. It says, some time ago, lawyers advised me that not only did I have a clearly winnable case against India Willoughby for defamation, but that India's obsessive targeting of me over the past few years may meet the legal threshold for harassment. This has been an ongoing, I guess, beef, if you will, of them going back and forth. JK says, I ignored this advice because I couldn't be bothered giving India the publicity he so clearly craves. Nevertheless, we must all do our bit to combat hate. So India will be glad to know that I've taken notes of his homophobia, racism, and humane stance on immigration. And India has a ton of different posts and writings that point out this, so-called homophobia and racism, since he so apparently wants to accuse J.K. Rowling of being full of hatred and go as far as to have her convicted of a...
the most hateful people. They they project. They throw stones from glass houses. The most the most hateful people project. They throw stones from glass houses. They throw stones. They throw stones. They throw stones from glass houses. Glass houses.
Hate crimes, and racism, since he so apparently wants to accuse J.K. Rowling of being full of hatred and even go as far as to have her convicted of a hate crime. J.K. Rowling also tweets out, nor have I forgotten India's shocking transphobia. It appears to have slipped what passes for India's mind
Unbelievable.
of a hate crime. J.K. Rowling also tweets out, nor have I forgotten immigration. And India has a ton of different posts and writings that point out this, so-called homophobia and racism, since he so apparently wants to accuse J.K. Rowling of being full of hatred and even go as far as to have her convicted of a hate crime. J.K. Rowling also tweets out, nor have I forgotten India's shocking transphobia. It appears to have slipped what passes for India's mind that he has previously called a fellow trans woman a man on this very site. And here is the evidence. India Willoughby tweeted out, what? I think it's fairly clear, anonymous pork chop, you're a turfy worthy. Debbie is a man who campaigns against trans rights. How many trans women campaign against themselves? Not the full shilling. And of course, the Debbie that is being referred to as a man in this tweet is actually a trans woman who identifies as a woman. So India Willoughby has decided to knowingly misgender somebody on the platform X, much like J.K. Rowling is being accused of doing to India. So you know what? If you're gonna, try to come and flame me and come after me, I'm gonna do the same to you. Is essentially what J.K. Rowling is doing here.
Yep.
Is standing up for herself, which again, I can give her all the support in the world for
A
standing
backbone.
JK
has a backbone. JK has a backbone. JK has a backbone.
Who identifies as a woman.
She
So
should be
India
praised,
decided to
extolled,
misgender somebody on the
lauded.
platform X, much like J.K. Rowling is being accused of doing to India. So you know what? If you're gonna, try to come and flame me and come after me, I'm gonna do the same to you. Is essentially what J.K. Rowling is doing here, and she is standing up for herself. Which again, I can give her all the support in the world for standing 10 toes down on the truth, because that's what it is. It's not misgendering. It is simply telling the truth in a world full of lies. Okay? She's telling the truth in a world full of lies. Now, the guy who was initially responsible for interviewing India Willoughby in that clip also came after J.K. Rowling and had somewhat of a mental breakdown.
Goofy. Yo, Willoughby, that bozo, contradicted what she said. Yeah. Horrible, bro.
Also came after J.K. Rowling and had somewhat of a mental breakdown, referring to J.K. Rowling as a putrid C word, okay? Now, the guy who was initially responsible for interviewing India Willoughby in that clip also came after J.K. Rowling and had somewhat of a mental breakdown, referring to J.K. Rowling as a putrid C word, okay, on X, coming after her, throwing all this different offensive language at J.K. Rowling. And this morning, it seems, has come to his senses. throwing all this different offensive language
Fragile.
at J.K. Rowling. And this morning, it seems, he's come to his senses and decided
Really?
to apologize. Staying this, I apologize
He went back. He went back on what he said.
J.K. Rowling as a
It
putrid
was
C-word. Okay?
he sincere though.
Coming after her, throwing
That
all this different
is
offensive language at J.K. Rowling.
that
This morning, it
is
seems, come to
the
his
question.
and decided
That
to apologize.
is
Saying this.
the question. The question. It was he sincere
Now, the guy who
in
was
the
initially
apology.
responsible for interviewing India Willoughby in that clip also came after J.K. Rowling and had somewhat of a mental breakdown, referring to J.K. Rowling as a putrid C-word, okay, on
Hostile.
X, coming after her, throwing all this different offensive language at J.K. Rowling. And this morning, it seems, he's come to his senses and decided to apologize, saying this. I apologize unreservedly, J.K. Rowling. I'm completely sorry for my behavior towards J.K. Rowling last night, and I apologize to her for the unforgivable and inexcusable language used. It won't happen again. J.K. Rowling goes on to accept this apology, saying, I'd ask any supporters of mine to give him grief and to stop now. To stop giving him grief, and please stop now. I didn't ask for this apology. It was made spontaneously, and a good faith gesture deserves equal good faith from the other side. And that reporter goes on to apologize profusely yet again and said that he made a horrible mistake and that he, in fact, has learned to respect J.K. Rowling and appreciates her for accepting the apology. So not only is J.K. Rowling coming forward, standing up for herself, standing up against lies, it seems as though she's actually moving the needle quite a bit and changing people's minds. And we have an update as far as the accusation made by India Willoughby from the police that says here, India Willoughby's accusation that author J.K. Rowling misgendered him online did not, quote, meet the criminal threshold from the Northumbria police. And no one saw this coming, apparently. I saw it coming. Because anybody who has their mind intact
Yeah.
knows that J.K. Rowling did the right thing and called somebody by what they actually are. And
Yeah.
this would set a really dangerous precedent.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's a precedent that has already been set, and we're going to get to some future stories here that do not involve J.K. Rowling. Think about the idea that you could be placed in jail or fined or convicted of a crime for calling somebody by their actual biological sex. And I think a lot of people might think, oh, that's crazy, that's clown world, that's the upside down, that's never going to happen. It is very much on the rise, this sort of ideology,
Yeah.
and people are actively working to make this a reality.
Yeah.
Where you will be arrested,
Evil.
fined, have to do community service for having misgendered somebody. They are working to qualify this as a hate crime, where if somebody has evidence or you have witnesses who have seen you do this to somebody, you could very well be charged with a hate crime.
Wow.
Are we seeing how extending that is? This is really commitment to the bit on behalf of trans ideology. They are really committed to the bit.
Yes.
They're willing to jail people for
Yes.
misgendering others. You know how full that jail's gonna be? I'll be there. I will be there. 100%. Taylor's gonna be there too.
Yep.
I'll be
Yep.
there. J.K. Rowling will be there.
Me,
She's already on the record.
a lot of
saying that she'd
people.
happily do jail time if it came down to
A
it. She
plenitude
had to confirm the reality.
of based people. People that say logical stuff. A plenitude of people that say logical stuff.
Will be charged with a hate crime. Are we seeing how insane that is? This is
Insane.
really commitment to the bit on behalf of trans ideology. They are really committed to the bit if they're willing to jail people for misgendering others. You know how full that jail is going to be? I'll be there. I will be there. 100%. Taylor's going to be there too.
Yeah, I'll be there. J.K. Rowling will be there with us. She's already on the record saying that she'd happily do jail time if it came down to it. And she had to confirm the reality of biological sex that put her in prison. This is a good development, though, because in this case where the rubber has kind of met the road and something has appealed to the law, right? This will be invoked and say, based on the Equality Act or whatever, that she should be prosecuted with a hate crime. And like you read, and I read a little bit further, there was apparently this case called the Forstater ruling that I read about in The Guardian, in which they basically, the UK's High Court ruled that the Equalities Act actually protects gender-critical views under free speech, and I guess that's what we're categorizing, acknowledging biology or saying that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, that qualifies as gender-critical speech under UK law, and so that is not necessarily a criminal offense. So I guess it is good that Willoughby was wrong on the merits, and that
Yes.
we have now added
Yes.
for public that you can use your free speech to espouse truth, aka gender critical views in this regard, and JK has been the vessel of that. And it is scary though to think that what if the reverse were true? What if Willoughby were right and she was actually prosecuted with a hate crime in this case and even in prison? But just the instinct also, can we just say, to say, you hurt my feelings, you didn't have the views that I like when it comes to gender, you didn't use the words that I want you to use when it comes to
So
how I
you
want
must
to refer to.
be
So I'm gonna
locked
call the police
up.
for you and try to
So you must be locked up because you hold beliefs that disagree with my beliefs. You must be locked up because you hold beliefs that disagree with my beliefs. Fragile.
that you can use your free speech to espouse truth, aka gender critical views in this regard, and JK has been the vessel of that. And it is scary though to think that
Agreed.
what if the reverse were true?
Scary.
What if Willoughby were right and she was actually prosecuted with a hate crime in
Nuts.
this case and even in prison? But just the instinct also, can we just say, to say, you hurt my feelings, you didn't have the views that I like when it comes to gender, you didn't use the words that I want you to use when it comes to how I want to be referred to. So I'm going to call the police and report you and try to get you in prison. Like, once upon a time, we taught that sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
Yeah.
You learn to hash out your differences and your offenses with other people in public, against them. But to cry, mommy, they hurt my feelings, and then have daddy government come in and
Weak.
with the punishment.
Soft.
It's just weak sauce, and it just
Yes.
underscores the fact that
Yes. Weak. Soft.
when it comes to gender, you didn't use the words that I want you to use when it comes to how I want to be
Snowflakey.
So I'm going to call the police
Snowflake
and report you and try to get you in prison. Like,
Snowflake.
once upon a time,
Ish.
we taught that sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. You learn to hash out your differences and your offenses with other people in public, against them.
Discourse.
And to cry, mommy, they hurt my feelings, and then have daddy government come in and with the punishment. It's just weak sauce, and it just underscores the fact that we need to be very firm in defending things like free speech so that people who wish to deprive us of those and impose their views via law are not allowed to do so.
100%, and we talked about
Yes.
this a little while back on the show, probably months ago, where I told you guys straight up, I do not believe in the premise of a hate crime, and I do not believe in hate speech. And these ideas need to be contested. Quite frankly, they need to be abolished, because look at the slippery slope that we are now on, where you can misgender somebody and possibly be placed in jail, on probation, get community service,
Yep.
get fined for doing so.
Yep.
Hate crimes and hate speech, in my world, in my mind, do not exist. They simply don't, because who gets to define what hate means? And what is the difference between a crime motivated by hate and a crime that is not motivated by hate? How can you differentiate the two? It makes absolutely no sense to tack on an extra charge for a hate crime or hate speech, because we have no idea of getting a handle on who gets to decide what hate actually is.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at this J.K. Rowling story and thinking that's a big win, she's not going to jail, she's not getting fined, yes, it's a big win for J.K. Rowling, but this next story is going to blow your mind, and it happened here in the United States of America. Let's read the headline.
I will stop. I will stop. I will stop here. Yeah, these woke trans people, they gotta be strong. They must know that. They must know that not everybody will agree with what you say. They must know that not everybody will agree with what you say. They say. So they must be stronger.